Good morning, beloved. Happy Monday morning. Goodness, it was cold this morning. We woke up to, as the Sweet Loaf told me, 2.5 degrees. Now that is very cold for Pacific Northwest man. As I said to the middleman, just another day in Nebraska. So cold today that we're going to be having a little blanket on our lap here. This is a Pendleton blanket. Now, if you don't know about Pendleton blankets, one of the pleasures of life, and Pacific Northwest man knows about this, is a beautiful Pendleton blanket. Mrs. W has bought me two of these. We have the big blankets in the house, but these are the travel blankets, and they're the perfect size to keep in your truck. Now, Pendleton blankets are iconic, made from Oregon sheep, as I like to tell the Sweet Loaf, and they are just beautifully, beautifully made. They come out with different patterns, a lot of Native American influence, and what a wonderful gift to give someone. It's the gift that we give to friends when we have weddings. Oh goodness, hold on. I got to start the fancy camera. Okay, here we go. So what's so wonderful about these guys is the size. 4 foot or 6 foot by 4 square. It is the perfect size. It's just the right size if you need to share it with a kid, wrap up a baby. Goodness, they are absolutely wonderful. A great gift. Look them up. But these are a great thing to keep in the car. You know, so it's Monday morning, and those of us who have had worked by the hour and had weekends off that's always been, well, it's not been the best day of the week. Hello, Mama. I'm glad that she survived. I had to put the heater on her last night. It's always not something that I look forward to. You know, I've been talking a lot and thinking a lot about the importance of having a positive attitude and just being happy and appreciative for things. I read a story. Boy, whenever I bring a Pendleton blanket out, she comes running. She does this on purpose. Are you going to just keep hold of that? You have your own Pendleton blanket. You stay up here. A story came to mind about negativity and how thinking something can affect you so negatively. So I read a story a while back about a man that he worked on refrigeration systems for the railroad. He was a tech, and he would go and service refrigeration cars, which are commonly used for transporting food and such. And one time, unfortunately, he was working, and some of the earlier ones didn't have, a lot of people have died in the old freezers. They have these latches that when you close them, they latch, and they had no way of getting out from the inside, and guys would get trapped in those things, and once you were trapped in there, you were done. Well, something happened, and he was working on this refrigeration car, got himself locked in there in a remote area on the siding somewhere, and couldn't get out. Banged on the walls, shouted, screamed, everything that he could do. There wasn't anyone around to hear him. He had a service truck, and that's what he did. He was just out there in remote areas working on these refrigeration cars. Well, he documented this experience. He had a pencil and he wrote on the wall, and he basically just wrote a diary of his experience of freezing to death in this refrigeration car. And after so many hours, he had scrawled, his name. He had scrawled goodbyes to his family, and even documented his own what was happening to him, his physiology, starting to get lethargic, starting to get sleepy. Don't know how much longer I can survive. I'm starting to lose consciousness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And ultimately, he died in this refrigeration car. Well, the incredible thing, when they eventually found him, the refrigeration car was never on. It had been the whole time a steady 56 degrees. The refrigeration system hadn't even been functioning properly. And he talked himself into this. He thought he was in a particular situation. His mind ran away with him, and he actually, and who knows what really happened, but everyone kind of is of the same opinion. He talked himself into dying. He talked himself into freezing to death. The power of the mind and the power of attitude is so important, and the words that we say are so important. The good book tells us that we'll give an account for every word, every idle word. Christ tells us, let your words be yes, yes, and no, no, because anything more than that is from the evil one. Now, that's kind of a hard thing to do. How could we go through life only saying yes or no? But what it is a very dire warning that we dig our own tombs, we dig our own graves with our tongues, by idle words, by gossip. And there's more to it than that. Just the effects that it has on tearing down relationships, tearing down friendships, tearing down your children. It programs you a particular way. When you get up in the morning and you automatically start talking, oh, it's horrible, it's horrible, it's Monday, I'm so bummed about this, I'm so depressed. That sets the tone for the day. And it just ruins the day, and it's very, very important. I can't emphasize that enough. And I've been guilty of that as well. I've always, I talk too much. I say too many things. I'm coming to the realization now, words have meaning, and they dictate what our attitude is, how our day can be. And it's just something to think about. And I'm not preaching to you guys. We're learning together here, but it's just something a guy wants to think about. So I have a little show and tell for you. Now, I have been a big fan. We cut a lot of kindling around here. We have 2 fires that are going pretty much all the time, 14 hours a day. The wood stove here in the shop, and then the fire in the house. Well, this is an upgrade. This is the original kindling cracker, but the Mondo version, the big one. Look how big that one is. That's got a big old throat in it right there. You can put some large pieces in there. So I had the small one that I'd purchased, and this is kind of an interesting story. This was designed, or the marketing tells us, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see, was designed by a young girl in New Zealand, is what they claim. That she was having trouble. They heated their house with wood and having trouble and found it unsafe working with axes for little kids, and then she developed this. If the truth was known, I think we all know as us dads that it was probably done in conjunction with Dad. But nonetheless, it is a high quality item and a wonderful way to split kindling. Why I like it is there's many reasons. You don't have to, if you've got little kids and you want to train them how to start fires and stuff, or give them the chore to keep the fire going, you don't have to turn them loose with an axe. And you can just sit right here on the wedge. You can just give them a hammer. You can even give them a dead blow hammer. Anything will work. There's not quite enough horsepower in that. You get the point. I'm sure the microphone really loved that. And it splits in here, and it's contained by the inner ring. So if you're looking for a nice item, these are very good. We use them extensively. So the little one that I had, my mailman, you've met him in the videos. We've pulled him out of the ditch a few times. He's a very delightful young man. Comes and brings the mail to the house, and he was asking about it, if it worked, if that's something that I would recommend. And I said I would recommend, and here, you can have mine. So I gave mine away, and I was missing it so bad. I told my manservant Jariah, I said, Mr. Jariah, would you please be so kind as to order one? And to my surprise, he got the big one, which is way better. I didn't even realize there was that, but these are really nice. Don't be confused. Don't be fooled by the ripoffs. There are, unfortunately, some Chinese companies are reproducing this, have stolen the idea at a much inferior material, much inferior quality. So get the original one, the new one from New Zealand, the New Zealand company. But these are really good, really, really good product. Goodness, let's just get it over with. I might as well just get the worst thing over with, the lighting of the lantern. Oh, we're not off to an auspicious start here. We'll just leave that box right there. We didn't even get our lantern lit last time, did we? No, we didn't. This, of course, is the Coleman dual fuel. Now, I had received a super chat from a very gracious individual that decided that they would fund the purchase of some white gas. Oh, there's nothing like a Pendleton blanket. And I will, I don't leave the house very often. I'm pretty much a hold up here. But the next time I get down to my hardware store, I will get a gallon of the white gas. We will try it together, and we will see if indeed it is the superior way to light the lantern. Now, when you're pouring these cans, just like in your, I'm a little embarrassed to say I learned this trick late in life. I used to always pour this way. That seemed the most logical way, right? You're getting the spout closest to the source. That's not the way you do it because it glugs. It doesn't have any way for the air to get out. Same way with your oil jugs. When you're changing oil on your car, you flip it up and pour it this way, and that way it can breathe, and it won't glug on you. Yeah. Here we go. I don't think we've ever performed this maneuver without a significant spill of gasoline all over my chopping block, which I get to enjoy for the next 2 hours. I'm focusing. Right now, you're watching a man operating at the extreme limit of his ability. I stole that from Top Gear. All my senses are engaged. I'm listening. We haven't spilled so far. This is only half the battle, I assure you. Hold on to your butt, Mama. Here we go. "30 pumps. We'll just let that pollute the environment for a few minutes. All right, let us jump into the super chats, gentlemen. Close this up here and get this party started here. All right, we have Mr. Mike Mack. Shout out to you, Mike. Come on now, come on. I'm afraid to start talking. Last time I started talking, and then it went out, and then it fills the chamber with gas fumes, and it turns itself into a bomb with glass fragments. Shout out to the Coleman Company. Okay, goodness. Mr. Mike Mack, shout out to you. Thank you for your generosity. Mike says, just wanted to say, thank you for recommending the DAB app. I have some catching up to do. I'm excited. Such a great inspiration. Thank you and God bless. Yeah, I was thinking, Mr. Overton, so what he's talking about, the DAB app is the Daily Audio Bible. This is something that's been going on for a long time. I was listening to this. I was turned on to this from a friend of mine back in, like a long time ago, like when Jack was a baby, probably almost 18 years ago. And he was a couple years into it then. What he does, it's a great application that you can get from the Google Store, the Apple Store, what have you, load it on your phone, and he goes through the 66 in a year. And he does a really good job of it. Really nice background, super high quality audio. I think he's a music engineer. He had something to do with the music industry. So he's got a beautiful voice. It's just real. You really feel like you're, I don't know, you just feel like you're there. It's done very nice. And if it's for folks that are kind of new to this, or it's been a while, you want to get back into it and you have a hard time with discipline and you want to get through the 66 books, you want to have a good understanding of the book, this is a great way. It gives you a little bit of accountability, and if you miss something or you miss a couple days or you just want to take the weekend off, you can always go back there and catch it up. It just keeps a record for you, and it's quite an accomplishment. I mean, it's an accomplishment. Most people, I would say most Christians have not read through the 66 books in its entirety. And the other thing that he gives a really nice kind of a summary at the end. It's not preachy. It's not dogmatic. It just gives you some insights. It just helps to paint a little bit more vivid picture and give you some context and some understanding of what he's reading. But I'm a big fan of that. If you're looking for something that would help you to get through the 66 books, it would be a fun thing if we could do a podcast together or a live stream together. I've never met him, but I was just thinking as I was reading this comment, that would be cool. I'd like to hear his story, how he got started, because I think he's been doing this for over 20 years. Incredible story. But shout out to you, and I'm glad that that's working out for you, Mike. That's a great resource. Mr. Sean Mooney, shout out to you. Our newest member, thank you very much. And Hammock Brothers, shout out to you as well. Thank you for your generosity. From the live chat, good morning, Cody. Please tell me something my father has. Please tell me something. Punctuation. Please tell me something. My father has dementia, and I took him to my home because he couldn't live alone anymore. It's like seeing him die a little by little. I can't take it anymore. How can I go on? How can I be a man when I just want to cry every single day? Oh man, it's terrible. And I can feel what you're going through. My dad, I didn't have to go. I think what you're going through is probably worse. Well, not probably. It is worse than what I had to go through. My dad was such a strong man and so confident, and was such a rock in my sister and I's life. No matter where we went, it was like my sister and I, we would go out and get ourselves in a bind, go get into trouble or make mistakes, get beat up and mauled by the world, and we always had the wisdom and that solid foundation to go back to. And the fact that he lived in our fatherhood, my parents lived in the home that I grew up in, there was something to that. There was just something that was just constant and dependable and reliable about that. And Corinne and I have talked about this afterwards, how much, that's the thing that we really miss. I still have my dad's phone number on my phone. And the thing that I miss the most about that is that when there's something you're excited about, when you've accomplished something, or your kids, Jack, when he does really well in debate, or the baby, Sweet Loaf, has reached some new milestone, I instinctively want to go to the phone and call him and share that with him. And not only that, that's what, and it's just not there. And it's such a great loss to me. The other thing I really miss and that's difficult is just to get the advice. Dad, there was, whenever I was doubting myself, or didn't think I could do something, or just thought something was too hard, I would call my dad for advice, and he always had an answer. And it was really interesting. We were back in Idaho with my first cousins. That were all in construction as well. My dad was a general contractor, and we were talking about Dad, and they all said the same thing. That's the thing we really miss about your dad, was that whenever I was not feeling like I could do something, or I was in over my head, or I bid a job that was beyond me, I would call him, and he would just automatically, well, of course you could do this. Here's what you do that. And he never wavered. He never had any, he was just so confident and so knowledgeable and so inspiring that after just a brief phone call, he'd answer your questions, he would motivate you, and you could just go forward. You felt like you could do anything. And I've always known him in that way. When my sister and I spent the last week or so right before he passed away with him, and he had degraded tremendously. He wasn't mentally there. He was kind of in and out, and it was so difficult to see a man that was so huge, larger than life. He was 6'7", 240 pounds, just a gigantic guy, smart, capable, hardworking, just the rock of our family. To see him in such a weakened state and not able to access that beautiful intellectual mind that he had, that was such good at problem solving, one of the most intelligent men I've ever known. Uneducated, self-educated, not traditionally educated. It was very, very difficult. I don't know what to tell you. The only thing that I can tell you is that just spend as much time with him as you can. The thing that was helpful for us, that there were hours and there were times where he wasn't really able to be involved. He didn't really know what was going on there. He had some confusion and things. But then there were moments that he would snap back, and he was perfectly fine. And my sister and I tried to take advantage of those times and just express to him how much we loved him. And it was a great blessing to be there and to be part of that. And I know it's difficult, especially having him in your own house, and these things can go on for a long time. It's very, very difficult. My parents, my mom and her brother, looked after my Nana, who was suffering from dementia for years. We come from a family that just didn't feel right about putting our loved ones in a retirement home. And the family took that burden upon themselves to look after them. And it was not easy. And it was very difficult, and it went on for years and years and years. I understand. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what the solution is. It's a cruel, difficult old world. I don't know. Just pray for patience, pray for wisdom on how to do it. That's the only thing that I can say. And just remember that you won't always have him there, and take advantage of the time you can. I don't know. I wish I could offer you something more than that. I can relate. I was not sympathetic towards this situation until I went through it myself. And now I understand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. But thank God, what a blessing that his children are there to look after him. Because the world doesn't care for the elderly. I'm sorry, goodness. We have a super chat from Mr. Brandon Aga, and new member. Shout out to you, welcome. He says, please buy long matches for lighting the lantern. Is that what the key is? Get that, see there's a little portal in there. Get that thing up in there. Well, you guys wouldn't have all the drama that comes along with it. We couldn't do that. Danger is my middle name. Well, we're going to go with it. We'll try the white fuel first. And if the white fuel continues to give me heart attacks, then I will look at those long matches. That's probably the solution. Northern Man, new member, welcome. Welcome. I've been trying to put up daily content for you guys, for members, just little things are on my mind. One thing that I shared with you is my favorite drink, something that's really helped me to get myself off of alcohol. Now, I've been alcohol free. Goodness, what's it been? Probably since the midsummer or so. I lost track, but I'm at the point now where I don't even think about it anymore. I feel like I've moved beyond it. Now, this is the dangerous time, right? The dangerous time is when I quit for a year and then went back to it. The dangerous time is when you quit for a significant amount of time and you think, well, I'm never, no problem, I can enjoy it now. I could maybe partake in a glass of wine now. Just stay away from it. The more I learn about alcohol and the more I read, the more I'm convinced that it is a toxic poison. When you see how the government promotes it and how ubiquitous it is. It's difficult to even go into a restaurant. You feel like an outcast if you don't order a cocktail. It's the first thing that they offer you. And all of the bottles, it's all enticing. That's all done by design. And when the government is pushing something really hard on the people, that's basically telling you that this is toxic and poisonous for you. The best way I've found to deal with that situation and not become a social pariah, because drinking is it's a cultural norm, and it's a very social thing, and anyone that doesn't do it is almost looked at with some mistrust. In some circles. What I do, Mrs. W, we both quit drinking together, is soda and lime. Just order yourself a soda water, have them put a lime in it, they'll bring it to the table, you can drink it, you don't have to have the alcohol, and people just assume that you're having a vodka or something like that. So, shout out to you, man. Mr. Daniel, welcome. We also have a super chat from B. Hawkins. Shout out to you, B. Hawkins. And B. Hawkins writes, really liking the new platform, petulant, that I've got lanterns and the noobs get the 940, keep the firing line, brother. Yes, the 940, if you don't know, if you're just joining us, there are going to be some things that are going to be mandatory for Proho, and that is going to be to have a pocket knife. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You are the master of your own ship. But if you're looking for a recommendation, the Benchmade 940 Osborne. Put that on your Christmas list right there. Quit your alcohol. If you quit your alcohol, what do you spend on beer a month? I took Mrs. W out for dinner the other night to there's a nice kind of fine dining restaurant about 40 minutes from here that we've been going to for a long time. We try to go down there once a month or so, and just her and I. Jack watches the baby, and we have kind of a date night. Well, we used to go down there, and I'd order a couple cocktails, and she'd have a couple glasses of wine. And she commented when we got the bill the other night, "Wow, our bill is half of what it used to be because we're not ordering drinks." And that's kind of a nice thing, nice benefit. So I think if you're going to make a life decision that helps you and it's going to change your life in a positive way, you should reward yourself. There should be, God tells us He's never going to take away anything without replacing it with something better. And how much better to replace a hangover than with a brand new 940 Osborne Benchmade? How about that? Right there. It wouldn't take long to pay for one of these if you just quit buying beer, would it? Yep, you'll like it. I've never had anyone be disappointed. I'll tell you, I have a friend who's not a knife guy. He lives down the road. I've known him for more of an acquaintance, but we've a very, very different person than I am. More of kind of a surfer type, not your knife and gun type of guy. Well, he's been watching my videos for a while, and he decided he didn't understand. Well, if you try to talk to a non-knife guy who doesn't know anything about it, and try to convince him to purchase a $200 blade or $160, whatever they cost, they look at you like you have 3 heads. Like, are you serious? What type of a fool would do that? Now, Proho understands this, and I'd be preaching to the choir here. But for some reason, he went against his nature, and he purchased this exact knife. Well, he told me he was building a Sprinter van similar to the adventure van that I did, and he was working on it, and he took it out of his pocket and he laid it on the right on top of the radiator while he was working. Forgot about it, closed the hood, and anyway, forgot all about it. Drove around for a while, then went to look for his knife the next day and realized what he had done, and he was just sick what he had done. He put it on there, and obviously it had fallen off to be gone forever. Now, he was never, ever going to make that purchase again. He was so bummed to be without that. They drove that thing down through Baja. They go down there and kiteboard and all over Mexico and the Baja Peninsula, et cetera, et cetera. I think it was a year later. He was working on that same Sprinter, and guess what he found? He found his 940. He found his 940. It had fallen off the radiator and fell down in some little crevice or some little bracket or something down there, and had been rattling around down there for a year all over God's green earth, and it came back into his life. And he said, when I saw him, he told me about it, and he was on cloud 9. So just like me, this was missing for a year, almost a year, and came back into my life. Now, if you want to keep your knife and never lose it, you have to do one thing. You've got to take the pocket clip off. Now, I know that's very controversial. We like the handiness of having the pocket clip, but if you lift and work, and especially if you move in the forest at all, that, in my opinion, is designed by knife manufacturers so that you will lose your knife and you'll have to go buy more. And what happened to me one time, and I was lucky to find this was 940 Mark III that is long since gone. The clip was in my pocket, and I was going through the trees, and a little fir bough lifted it off and was hanging there. I went back, the whole family, I was just sick. It was at the old homestead. We went back there. We started doing a grid pattern everywhere I'd been, and I think it was either Jack or Mrs. W. One of us had found it hanging on that tree like a little ornament. Take the clip off, gentlemen. Take the clip off. Put the little screws back in there. Keep it in your pocket. The 940 is good. It's slim. It's light. It's thin. It'll just melt away in your pocket, and you're not likely to lose it. Stay with your routines. We have a super chat from WRC. Shout out to you, WRC. He writes, "Thank you for reposting Guilty of Treason's tribute to Jed. It's great watching so many people help this family in their time of need." Yeah, those are some good dudes over there. So there's a fellow creator, Guilty of Treason, is a young man that started a YouTube channel. He was, if memory serves, he was working for an arborist company. It was kind of a sad deal. Really passionate about what he does, really a great arborist. One of the few arborists that isn't a conceited, arrogant person. So he started building up this YouTube channel, and it was promoting their business, and he just had a real gift for it, and just his passion and joy of everything really came through. Well, he built it up where it was pretty successful, and I don't know all the details, but apparently someone at the company wanted to take ownership with it. You know, greed comes into play with a lot of people, and I'm just going to speculate here, but maybe it was producing some money. Who knows? But he lost it. Can you imagine building up a YouTube channel that was successful, the hard work and effort that goes into that, and having it just taken away from you? Pretty rough. And I watched the video a couple of years, maybe a year or two ago, where he said, you know, I left the company and I'm just going to start over. I'm just going to do it again. And that's exactly what he did. And he built it up a second time. Well, there was a tragedy, and he did a video tribute. You know, he lost a friend that was working with him. And I just shared a post with that. You know what the two most dangerous jobs in the world are? Where the most injuries? It's commercial fishing and logging. Those are the two most dangerous, and they're very, very, very dangerous. I'm surprised that I've survived it. I'm surprised that I survived having a super fast motorcycle when I was 17, and I'm surprised I survived all of the logging that I've done by myself without knowing what I was doing, being self-taught. Yeah, that's tough for those guys, man. Little kids too, little kids. If you go to my community tab on my YouTube page, there's a link over there to that. But Guilty of Treason, it's a play on words. Go over and subscribe to those. Those are good dudes there, and you'll learn a lot. Unlike me, they really know what they're doing. I would probably listen to them over anything I tell you about felling timber. They're good dudes over there. We have a super chat from Jamie, and new member. Good to see you back. Shout out to you, Jamie. Jamie writes, hey, Cody, what do you suggest when it comes to shop storage? Is it worth to invest in toolboxes, racks, job boxes, etc., to keep things organized? Yeah, so I've had a complete change of opinion when it comes to the toolboxes. It's going to depend. Now, if you have to deal with security, do you have people coming to and fro from your shop? Are you self-employed where people are going to be in your shop when you're not there, people borrowing stuff? That is a really important consideration. Those of us who invest in Snap-on tools understand they have an incredible ability to walk away. I don't know what it is. They seem to, unlike all other tools, they seem to just develop little legs and out they go, and you come back and many of them have taken off. They are a universal currency. Everyone understands their value, and there's nothing else. There's no other tool like it. It is the gold standard, and they basically could be a form of currency. So if you're dealing with that, you need to have things locked up. I like working out of tool carts. There is a time and place for that. If you're the only person in your shop and you never have to worry about anyone coming in and you're locking things up at night, then a tool cart's really great. Really, really nice way to work out of. I have changed over to what I did is, what I think is the best, it's been working really, really well for me this last year, is if you take a toolbox, and the best value on toolboxes it's just incredible, are Snap-on boxes that are a few years old. Go to Facebook Marketplace. You can search by your area. You can search by price. Let's say you've got $1,000, $1,500 to spend, whatever it is. Punch that in there and just have the cash on hand and be ready to move on it. What you want is just the box that's about 24 wide, and if you can get the deep ones that are 32, that are just the standalone, that are a full bank of drawers. Man, those are handy. So what I do is you're going to have 2 caster wheels on those guys, and then 2 wheels that don't turn. A caster wheel does 360, and then the straight wheels. Go to Snap-on. You can even, they're on eBay all the time, and throw those ones that don't swivel away and put 4 swivel wheels on those things. And then get yourself an extra handle. So what you're going to end up with is a toolbox, and this doesn't have to be Snap-on. You can go to by Kennedy is a good Mac, Snap-on, Kennedy, the old Kennedy, Proto boxes. What's the other one? I can't think. The old mechanic boxes, they're made so well. They're just the best of the best. And a lot of guys that are in the trades, they want the latest, greatest. You know, what happens is that what's really changed with toolboxes and why there's so many deals on them right now is the power drawer. A lot of mechanics and Guys working out of boxes have switched from air tools to electric tools. And for good reason, man. I've done that as well. I mean, since I've got involved in the Milwaukee tools, the M12s and the M18 tools, the impact wrenches, they are so good and so powerful and so handy. I have not drug an air hose out since then. There's just no point. Back in the day, that was the way you did it. You had impact wrenches, air guns, and all that. And I mean, the electric is so much better. Well, to accommodate this and the change of the industry, the tool companies have produced toolboxes that have drawers with charging systems in them. They call them power drawers. All the mechanics want to go to these because as tools walk away, another big thing that walks away are batteries. If you're using the Milwaukee or Snap-on batteries and you have those things on top of your toolbox, they will disappear. And what are they? 120, 150 bucks per battery? You know, you just can't afford to lose that. So a lot of the mechanics, they need this. They need to have a power drawer where they can have everything charging and plugged up, and it's plugged in and it's secure. So that leaves a lot of those boxes on the market. If you could wait a little bit, before you go and buy a toolbox at a big box store, or you buy one at Costco or Walmart or Sam's, you know, they all look the same. They all look really good when they're at the store. They're just not the same. Until you have a Snap-on box or a good quality box, you just don't understand how good they are. That's what I would do. So I would start with having your main mechanic set. If you are a professional homeowner and you're not like a contractor, a big box, a 24-inch box that's 32 deep, that's got 7, 8, 9 drawers in it, you'll be able to put everything you need in there. You'll be able to put the bigger tools in the bottom, your skill saws, your carpentry stuff, your cordless drills, your battery charges, all those things. And to have everything in one spot, it's incredible. Now you can move your tools to your work. You can, if you have to work outside, if you have a driveway, you can take it out there right to your car. You can have a nice little stool right here that you're sitting on and you're pulling your drawers out, and it just saves you so much time and aggravation. Then, not only that, but you've also got a portable you've got a bench top that you can work on. You're rebuilding a carburetor, you're fixing, doing new brakes. You've got on the top of your box, get a rubber pad. Some of them have a nice stainless top on it. It does everything. It gives you a workbench. It gives you a portable tool system. It's going to be all secure. It really is the way to go. That's the way I like to do it. Now, when I'm working on bikes, snow bikes, cars, and all that, I bring two things. I bring two things. I bring my big roll around over, and I'll sit it right there so I can pull it out. I'm grabbing my wrenches, I'm grabbing my screwdrivers, I'm grabbing my sockets. I don't even have to get up from my chair right here. And then the second thing I have is my cart, the little cart. And what I have in the little cart is all the cleaning supplies and greases and oils and lubricants, extra rags, funnels, all those little things that you need that I don't want in my toolbox but are not so valuable that I need to lock them all up. That has been the best way to go. Now, once you've got your tools established and your cleaning supplies and your oils and lubricants and all that on those two carts, it's super awesome. Then you need to talk about some bigger stuff. The thing that I do is I use pallet racking. Go on Facebook Marketplace and get pallet racking 2 foot deep is perfect, or some heavy industrial metal shelving. It's all over the place. If you just go and look, there's a lot of warehouses shutting down. There's a lot of businesses that fail. Get the heavy duty stuff that's got like the key mod locks in it and just go get it up. You can even pack it in your car. It breaks down really small. If you're moving around a lot still, let's say you're in an apartment but you still want to have a shop, you can erect it up in 10, 15 minutes, and you can have 5 nice shelves on there. You can have all your stuff there. It's organized. You can look and see what you have, and then when you're done and you need to move on, you're not building something in place. You're not moving you're not investing money in plywood and 2x4s just to leave it behind. You can break it down, put it in your car, and you'll take it with you, and you'll have it forever. I think the key to today is being portable and being mobile when you're making decisions for setting up shop. Now, when I set up my first big shop, I built a 5,000 square foot custom shop with a loading dock, basically had a commercial kitchen in there because I wanted stainless steel sinks, and I had a commercial dishwasher for washing parts. I had dedicated spray booth for painting. I had a big hot seat with a dedicated wash bay with a grease trap. So all the grease, it was a skookum choocher, man. I mean, it was the dream shop, 5,000 feet, 4 bay doors. It was just cut with a loading dock. So the UPS guy would back up. It was really, really nice. And when I built that shop, everything was built in, integrated air. I mean, I left, even the compressor was so big, 3-phase compressor, that rather than move it, I just left it all there. It was just really a shame, all of the effort, money, and resources I put into that shop. Then when it was time to go, that I just had to leave there and I couldn't reuse again. The thing with today that we need to think about is being mobile and flexible. Flexible as possible. There's no guarantees in life today. What's working today may not work tomorrow, and you want to, if you're going to be invested in things, you want to have things that are going to that you can use in multiple roles. So keep it portable. I like the power tools, the cordless power tools. You're not investing, you don't have to have a compressor really anymore. Or if you do, you can just get away with a small one. Because really, the only thing I'm using a compressor for is just blowing dust off. I don't even use it for inflating tires anymore. Why would I use a big giant compressor that I have to service and move with me, and try moving one? I mean, they're terrible to move. When I can use the little Milwaukee inflator, that I can, it just doesn't make sense anymore. So whatever you're deciding, keep it portable. Pallet racking's movable really good. Have everything in a good box. Buy something used. You'll get for $1,500, $1,200, you can get a lot of Snap-on box if you wait for it to come up and move on it quickly. Put 2 handles on it, like I said, so you can grab it from any direction, move it around. 4 casters, so it rolls around easily. Push it into place, push it up against the wall, and that's the ticket for setting up a shop. I wouldn't even invest, if you came into a space that was nilla and empty, I wouldn't even invest in lighting, like big industrial lighting and overhead and bays, all that. I use lighting on a tripod, photography style lighting, that I can take with me. I mean, even if you have a room that's going to be like a parts room or something, I would not wire it up. I would just keep things portable. I would maybe even get a cordless light, Milwaukee job site light, that you could just put in there, and when you walk in, just turn that thing on. It's going to light up the whole area perfectly. And then if you need a portable light in the basement, if the power goes out, or you need it at night on a job site or an emergency, it just gives you so many more options. Just really think about being flexible, having options, and buying something that's going to move with you in case you have to pull up stakes and go across the country and you're not leaving a bunch of money and infrastructure behind. That's the advice that I would give you. We have a super chat from Isaac Leonard. Shout out to you, Isaac. Isaac says 16 on the first day of classic looks. Nice by the fire. It's minus 16. Punctuation is important. Public school rears its ugly head. Minus 16 on the first day of class looks nice by the fire. Oh, goodness, minus 16. Yeah, that sounds cold. Obviously, you must be from an area where you're used to that. Now, Pacific Northwest man is not used to these cold weather. But my pinky toe is frozen right now. It's going to turn black from frostbite. Goodness. I got it hanging out there in the wind. I'm going to have to adjust my... I just realized how uncomfortable I'm getting. Good. I'm glad I don't live where you live, but 2 degrees for Pacific Northwest man, it is a great, great hardship. Stay warm. Goodness, shout out to you. Yeah, this fire is cooking right now. Mrs. W, bless her. I'll tell you how well I married. And Jack, bless him too. So this morning, our water was frozen. And I knew it was going to be cold last night. And Mrs. W said, should we turn the faucet on? I said, yeah, let's run the faucet. So we went out into the pantry and turned on the faucet. Now, a big problem with wells is ground remains a set temperature. It doesn't change. It's never going to freeze below, 24 inches. Oh man, my toe is cold. By 24 inches in this area. But with the wells, they do have to come in. It has to come into the shop. For some strange reason, the folks that built this place put the pressure tank out here. So the pressure tank is out here in an unheated space, and then it has to go into the house. So if you don't keep the shop heated, then the pressure tank freezes. And so we woke up this morning, turned it on, no water. Oh, good grief, you got to get on that, right? So I was very comfortable in my chair sitting by the fire with my lovely wife, and it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I dialed Jack up. Hey, Jack, come on down here. I gave him the good news and the instructions of what to do. So he came out here and did battle by himself for about an hour and a half, got the water going, and started the wood stove for us. And not only that, I jumped in to take my cold shower this morning, and I came back, and Mrs. W was just coming in, had taken her coat off. She came out and filled up the wood box for me. That's a good woman for you right there. You know, getting along and having a good relationship with your wife, it's not difficult. The example, what the beautiful example is the relationship between Christ and the Father. And you see it when you read the stories in the New Testament. And one thing that Christ was always doing was giving admiration, giving credit for, and everything, you know, all the love and all of his intentions and all of his actions dedicated to lifting up his Father, painting his Father in a good light, and doing his will, doing the will of his Father. And that reciprocity back and forth is a beautiful love story. And the secret to getting along with someone, and Mrs. W and I have always got along really well, and we've never had a big fight, I'd say. We've had disagreements and arguments where we just couldn't see things in the same light for a while. But one thing that she does is she's always putting me first, and she's always doing those nice things for me. And what I see her do things like that, when she comes out, she didn't have to do that. She had to put her coat on, 2 degrees, she came out here, and I didn't ask her, and just to know that she's thinking about me, and to know that she's worried about me having to come out here and be in the cold shop and do the live stream, that she took it upon herself to do that. What do you think that makes me want to do to her? All I can think of is, how can I return that favor? How can I even do more for her? You know, what can I do to alleviate her problems? You know, and or make her life a little bit easier. And when you're constantly trying to outdo the other, and you're trying to one up your spouse, it makes for a delightful marriage. No one's keeping track. No one's keeping score. No one's saying, well, I did the dishes so many times and you're not doing, and there's no resentment. It is. She taught me this, and it's just the way to go, man. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you, Luke. Luke says, your channel and new live streams have encouraged me to bite the bullet and start my own channel. I'll be focusing on automotive, how tools, and building my off-road race truck. Keep up the good work. That's a great Hammock Brothers. So when you get your channel up and running, give us a link. We'll drop it in the comments. I'll go over there. I'll be happy to subscribe. I think that's really good content right now. That is really, really the thing. Just when you start getting black-pilled and you think that the younger generation is not able to do anything, and they're not, they're losing the skill set. I've been so encouraged. There's so many young guys that are doing incredible building cars. I mean, even taking on huge projects, welding, manufacturing. It's very popular right now, and it's very fun content. It's being promoted really heavily by YouTube, and it's just interesting. It's really interesting to see someone, and it doesn't really matter what it is. You could be fixing up an old farm tractor, but there's a lot of young dudes your age that just are seeing these things for the first time. Those of us who grew up with this, my granddad was a mechanic, my father was a general contractor. I just always was around this sort of thing. I always knew it. I was wearing coveralls when I was 5 in my granddad's shop, running around there getting greasy. I just didn't know any otherwise. But that's not the case with most people. So there's a lot of hunger and desire for this sort of content. And especially if you're not doing it like super fancy. And, it's one thing to go and watch Foose, or Jesse James do these incredible motorcycle builds, or cars or boats with the latest, greatest technology and millions of dollars worth of equipment in the shop. I mean, that stuff is fun to watch and see. I love that stuff as well. But I think I would prefer to see a dude that's figuring it out. Well, I don't really have, my welder's not really big enough. How can I do this? Or I don't have this tool. What's a good workaround? That's good content. And that's what you should share. And just don't be afraid. And the key is just keep uploading. Be consistent. Be consistent. Be genuine. Be honest. You know, if something goes wrong, share it. Don't lie. Don't try to make yourself look better than you are. Just share the way it goes, and it's just a recipe for success. Be genuine. People are not stupid, and sincerity comes across. And enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm. If there's a dude that's excited about something, I'm excited about it. I don't care what it is. I got into a guy that is a jeweler, and he didn't know, well, he's a self-taught, he's not really a jeweler. He was just a regular dude, but he had a passion for watches. He always wanted to learn how to be a watchmaker, but no one to show him. So he got on YouTube, started watching videos. He ordered some basic tools and just said, well, I'm just going to try it, and started buying watches on eBay that were broken. And nothing expensive, just automatics, old school automatics or wind watches, something that if he wasn't able to fix it, that he wasn't out much, you know, 20, 30 bucks in a watch. And it's super awesome. And I've watched him do this from the very beginning to now, where he's becoming a proficient watchmaker, not a watchmaker, but a watch repair person. And I remember the first time that he bought a used Rolex and how nervous he was. Like this was a big investment for him, and to be able to take the crystal out and get in there. And just the satisfaction of watching, he's taking something that doesn't work, that's all corroded or broken or damaged parts, and to restore it and bring it back. It's amazing. It's amazing. And he's just, I like it because he's enthusiastic about it, and it's not something I ever thought that I'd be interested in. But enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm. Good for you. You can do it. Just keep uploading, be consistent, follow your passions, and let honesty be the best policy. We have a super chat from Hammock Brothers. Welcome back. Shout out to you. And they write, your channel and new live stream. Oh, I already read that. I'm sorry. Goodness, there's a thumbnail right on it. Shout out to you again. We have a super chat from Daniel White, and member for 45 months. I lost my 940 on a bus in Fort Hood because of the pocket clip. Dang the Army. Yeah, I'm telling you, brothers. I am telling you, the pocket clip is not your friend. The convenience, it is convenient. The pocket clip, of course, is nice because of the one-hand opening. If you are not a knife person and joining us, what we're talking about is that Granddad never had a pocket clip on his knife. He just carried it in the pocket. But we have the new pocket clips where it rides right here. You see it. You see all the guys, it hangs out right here. Well, what happens is that catches on stuff and lifts out. You get out of your car. I've had mine hang on seat belts. Get rid of it. Get rid of it and just put it in your pocket. Just let it ride. And I never lose a knife until I get out of my routine. And that's every time I've lost a knife has been that way. The last two 940s I've lost, the last three, I can tell you what happened. I lost one because a friend of mine asked me, that lives in Portland, I did a video on this of I had to take down a big tree in the city in Portland. We had to limb it and climb it and drop sections off, all that. But we spent the whole day doing that. And when I was putting on my spurs, my climbing gear, I got out of my routine. I had to put the climbing harness on it, and it was pressing on my knife, and it was uncomfortable. So I took it out and I put it in a bag. Soon as you do that, soon as you get out of your routine and the knife comes out of your pocket and doesn't go into your EDC drawer where you normally keep it, or your nightstand, that's when you lose it. And sure enough, I don't know, I never found it. Something happened. The next one that I lost, actually the next two I lost were from the pocket clip. I told you about the tree branch. It came out, was hanging there like a Christmas ornament. The next one I lost, these are all green 940 Osbornes. I know. Don't make the mistake that I made. I'm sharing valuable experience with you here. This is real-time stuff. You know those louver boards? You know what a louver is? Where they take sheet metal, you see them on custom hot rods and stuff. Well, there's shelving, those little acrobins. They take sheet metal, then they punch out a little arm like that, and the acrobin hangs on it, for organizing things. Had the pocket clip on. We were moving a piece of that louver board that I used to use from the shop to the old orchard barn that we had. In carrying that, I hoisted it up, was carrying it like this, walked down there, dropped it off. That thing, one of those louvers, hooked on the knife and lifted it out, and it was hanging on that thing, and I laid it against the wall, and then we started stacking other things on it, and it was gone for almost a year. My manservant Jariah, when we were moving over to this place, when we were unloading that, putting things on the trailer to transport it over, he found that knife, and it had been hanging there the whole time in that old barn on the pocket clip. I was so happy to see it, I gave it to him, and I ordered myself another one. So he has one now too. So that's how I lost that one. And then this one was lost for almost a year here. It just came up missing. I got out of my routine. I just got my snow bike. It has a little front, it has a bag on the front, on the number plate where I keep like extra sunglasses and a hat when we stop and such. I took it out of my pocket, thinking, oh, I might need that up in the middle of nowhere. Like I don't have a survival knife, in the tunnel bag. Just stupid. Get out of your routine. Took it out of my pocket, put it in that thing, and then forgot about it for a year. And then when I went to go through everything, I flipped that thing upside down, was carrying across the shop, and it made that beautiful sound. You know what the most beautiful sound in the world is when you've lost your 940? Listen. It's very distinctive. When I heard that sound on this shop floor, I knew, man, my toe's cold. I knew exactly what it was, and there it was. So I do not get out of my routine. No more out of the pocket. It either lives in my pocket or it lives in my EDC drawer, and that is it. That's the key to not losing your knife. I can't tell you how many Benchmades I've lost. Goodness, it's shameful. Shameful. We have a super chat from Tyler Borgerding. Shout out to you, Tyler. And Tyler writes, and new member, let's not forget that. Tyler writes, hey Cody, I really don't like to shop on Amazon. Do you have any alternatives for online shopping? I get you. Yeah, I get you. I don't. The only alternative, I don't know, let me get with the middlemen and see, we're discussing some of these options right now. We're building the framework for all of this stuff. And the problem is shipping the stuff. It's very difficult. I ran a business for 11, 12 years where I shipped my products all over, international, all over the world, all over the country, mostly domestic, but I would ship it pretty much anywhere. To be able to do that, it takes a full-time employee. I mean, it really does. Maybe even a couple. And it's exceedingly difficult to compete. Like when I was shipping my Jeep parts, it was hard for me. Well, it was easy in that I had a product that I wasn't competing with anyone else with. I had something there wasn't a bunch of other dudes doing, so it wasn't quite the same. But one thing I realized when I was setting up merchant accounts is that the rates that you have to pay as a small guy for FedEx, UPS are significantly different than what the big companies pay. They pay a fraction of what you pay, and they're also subsidized by tax dollars, et cetera, et cetera. So that's very difficult. So to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know yet. I can't make any promises, but we'll think about that. We'll consider it. We'll consider that in the next meeting and see if there are any ideas that come up with. But thank you for that. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Spartan219, shout out to you. Good to see you back. Spartan219 writes, advice for leaving a relationship with an older woman that's toxic and loveless. I'm 30, she's 42 with 2 kids together, 5 years, and it's killing me. You need to get out of that. You absolutely need to get out of that. So here's been my experience. This is advice from a former Chad. A woman, not all, after about the age of 25, can become a bit of a chameleon. At 25, 26 in there, they start, if they're not attached, if they don't have a family going, they don't have a husband, they start getting, that biological clock starts ticking. They start becoming aware of it for the first time. Well, wait a minute, this is not going to last forever. I need to get a man. I need to get a husband, which is rightfully so. And they can be a bit of a chameleon. They will give the impression to be something that they are not, to get what they want. It's very it's, in my experience, it's very unusual, a woman after 25, that you're seeing her real personality. She will conform and can become what she thinks she needs to be to get what she wants. Now, before that, your younger girls, 18 to 24, 25, they're not even thinking about this. And you get the real thing. You get the real deal. You get their personality, what they are, what they're like, if they're fun, if they're gregarious, if they're outgoing, if they're more homebodies, or like, you know what you're getting. It's more genuine. 42, goodness, what are you doing? Yeah, you need to get out of that. You need to get out of that. That is 12 years. 12 years. You guys are not even the same people. At 30, there's still things you want to experience. You still have a lot of things to explore in life, travel and see that you haven't experienced. By 42, she's seen so much and done so much. She's just not going to be interested in that anymore, and she's going to be more of a mother to you than a mate. It's just not you're just not equally yoked. Man, that does not look good to me, brother. That does not look good to me, especially with the kids. And I got to read this again here. I have to be careful with this stuff. We'll get into trouble here. Any advice on leaving a relationship with an older woman that's toxic and loveless? 5 years, goodness. Yeah, if you're not being treated with respect in a relationship, if you don't have a woman that is submitting to you, to your leadership, letting you lead the family and make important decisions and carry the burden and the responsibilities of the father, that is demeaning you or just not respecting you as a man. And the other thing that's really difficult is if she's got kids from another man. I mean, that's a difficult thing to raise kids from another man. It's difficult to discipline them. And most of these women at this age, you're going to be number 3 in this relationship, maybe even further down if she has a dog. I mean, it's going to be her kids first, and then it's going to be the pet, if she had it before you came in the relationship, then it's going to be you. I mean, that's just not a situation that you want to live in. If you're leading out using the word toxic and loveless, I mean, are you just basically just a provider, just there to provide resources? And if you are doing that and you're providing for these kids that are not yours, providing for this ungrateful, toxic woman that doesn't respect you or doesn't respect your authority or your headship in the household, and is but gladly taking the resources and just using you as a pack mule, then you need to go, brother. You still have an entire life ahead of you. She's post-wall, her life is over. I mean, as difficult and as harsh as it may sound, and spending 5 years with the kids and those relationships are strong, and to be able to cut that off, I understand it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be difficult for everybody. That's why I tell you, don't date single mothers. Don't date single mothers. There's just a no-win situation. And God help you if you marry someone like that. Then the moment you want to get out, or it becomes horrible, or she's not treating you with respect, or not putting you first and putting her kids ahead of you, then you're trapped. You'll be paying child support for who knows how many years. You'll be paying alimony. It's an absolute trap. Hopefully you're not married, but if you're not being respected and you're not being, then you need to go. You need to go. You're just getting started. Even if you had nothing and you're starting from scratch, you still have all the time in the world. In 48 months, you could be an electrician, making $80,000 a year. And what could you do as a single man with $80,000 a year if you were frugal, unattached? How would that change your life? You don't have to put up with that. There's nothing that says that you need to be a beast of burden. It would be one thing if she was treating you with respect and you had a loving environment, and she was appreciative and grateful for the effort and the resources that you're providing. But if she's berating you, making you feel less of a man, treating you like a child, you need to go. Life is too short for that. That sounds terrible. Oh, that sounds terrible. Get out. Get out. I'm sorry you have to go through that, Spartan. That's rough. We have a super chat from Northman and new member. Shout out to you, Northman. Northman writes, just wanted to let you know personally that your vid from last year called It's Time to Fight got me to God and accept Christ as my Savior and Lord. I believe God used you to call me for that. Thank you. Well, thank you. Well, that's quite a thing. That's quite a thing. My grandmother and my granddad used to paint this beautiful analogy. You know, we're told in the good book that we'll have crowns in the kingdom. And there was an old song called Precious Jewel. Jewels, precious jewels that we used to sing. It was an old hymn. And I think the gist of the story was that for all of the folks that we've had a hand in leading to the Savior, that all of those, Granddad used to say, will be a special jewel or a crown, a gem in your crown of achievement. I've always enjoyed that picture, but that means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. You know, when you see, I was thinking this morning, I've been doing some content for the members. You know, just simple stuff and ideas or things that I've found to be helpful. And how few people see those. When you look at, you could do something that's can get 1 million views that is vapid and frivolous or gimmicky or cheapest tools on Amazon, and people just love that stuff, just eat it up. But the moment something of substance that might actually help someone or change their life or help prepare them or point them to Christ that will prepare them for eternal life, it has 200 views, 300 views. You look at those things and you can get discouraged and think, what's the point? No one's even listening. It doesn't even matter. But it matters. And to receive an email like that just erased all that doubt and all that negativity that I was thinking and ideas of potential failure. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. Northern Man, thank you for your generosity. And new member, welcome. We have a super chat from Mr. Luke Blundell. Shout out to you, Luke. Good to have you here. And Luke writes that, asked me if I would consider doing a daily 5-minute devotional for members in the morning. Your short biblical messages are so great. Mrs. W gave me a very stern warning last night. I've been talking, Luke and Mrs. W and I were exchanging some ideas on some chats last night. And there's all these opportunities to do things and all these ideas, and they all sound really great, and they are really great. And I get excited about stuff and I can tend to overcommit. And as I'm typing, before I'm typing, my lovely wife, puts her hand on my arm and says, "Before you answer, just wait. I know how you are. I know how you can commit to these things, and they are good things to do, and you should do them. But they start to compound to the point where they start to become a tremendous burden. I'm very protective of my time, and I don't have a lot of it. I have to balance that over family responsibilities, taking care of the place, the daily live streams. The fact that I'm here doing daily live streams and actually showing up on time is a great achievement for me. As good as that would be to do, I'm afraid if I overcommit on these things, it will start to become a burden to me, and I'll start to resent it. And I'm going to have to push away from that as much as I'd like to do that. I've got a lot of things coming up. There's going to be a lot of changes that we can't speak to now that are in the works. We're building them right now, and as soon as we're able to speak to them, we will. That are going to take a lot of time, and I'm reluctant to do that because I have commitments that are starting to stack up already, and I know who I am. So I have to be careful with that. I appreciate the offer. I think it's a good offer. And will there be a possibility in the future? We'll see. But I cannot commit to that right now. I will try to. I can't commit to it. I'm just going to keep it right there. Thank you, Luke. Thank you. Appreciate that. We have a super chat from Logan Carnes and 2-month member. Shout out to you, Logan. And Logan writes, what can do you recommend for a rifle? I was thinking of getting a Surefire. Let's see. If you were just to ask me a question right now, if I could, I should probably pass this on to Overton right here. We should consult on this. I'm just thinking, if I could only have one, where do I live? Do I live in the country or do I live in the city? Man, you know, I hate to make this recommendation. I'm just going to go with the gut, what the first thing that comes into my mind. And I don't even own one, but I've always wanted one. And they're not even that good, and they're certainly not very accurate, but they're accurate enough. Man, I'm just thinking right now, if I had 1,500 bucks, $1,200, and I could only get one rifle. Goodness, man, that is a tough one. I want to say Mini 14. Oh, I know. I don't even have one. I've never had one, but they're just cool. There's something about it. Just the robustness and the reliability of it. The short barrel. You could get one in stainless steel with a folding stock. It'd be super portable. Difficult to mount an optic on. Notoriously inaccurate, but accurate enough. You could hunt with it. You could abuse it. It's going to, any environment you find yourself in with, it's going to hold up with the stainless steel. It's not going to rust. It's not going to corrode. And it'd be pretty good. I'm thinking, start thinking hunting rifle. Even if you got like a 270 or .6, something like the 308, you could make that, maybe not the Mini 14. Probably, here's what it would be. It would be some sort of a scout rifle. The scout rifle concept is kind of cool. It'd probably be in 308. Now, if I could only have one, right, and I've got to have something that I could take game with, have to have something that I could press into service for home defense, for checkpoint. It's going to be durable, reliable, reasonably portable, that I could mount optics and such on. I'm going to back away from the Mini 14. I think it would go with the scout rifle concept. Maybe even in 226 or 308, one or the other. You're going to have that short barrel. Get something that could be box magazine fed, even if it was in 308. 18-inch barrel. You with me? You tracking with me, Overton? Oh, ask Overton. What does Overton say here? Am I barking up the wrong tree here? I have a soft spot in my heart for the Mini. Let Overton is our resident expert on this here. But I would say that would be the concept. Clint Smith, maybe it wasn't Clint Smith. I think Thunder Ranch did a scout rifle concept. And again, I've never owned one. I've never shot one because I've never had to rely on just one thing. I've always had the ability, I can go with a long range rifle. I can go with a short barrel rifle. I have hunting, there's all these options. But if I could only have one rifle, it would be in a 308 with an 18-inch barrel, and it would be with probably an adjustable optic, something that would go from maybe 0 to 4 or 0 to 10, a really good robust optic with some good backup sights. Put a flashlight on it. That's what I would go with. Throw a sling on it. I would look at the scout rifle concept. What's Overton? Oh, what's he saying here? AR-10? Yeah, I thought about that too. That came into my mind. One rifle, like you don't have any rifle. Yeah, you can't have anything else. The whole world is falling apart. You've got one chance to go to your local gun store. Let's say they still have what you need in stock. You've got to make a decision. What would it be? It would be, for me, it would be the scout rifle. Yeah. And Dr. Pepper right there has put up kind of the concept right there, the scout rifle. That's what you'd need to go with, I think. Yeah, see, Overton, he's bringing stuff I don't know about. Southwest M&P Sport. Yeah, I think it's probably the same concept, something like that. It'd be 226 or it'd be 226 or 308. That's what it would be. Now, if I was on a budget, like a super budget, and I needed to have something, I would not rule out a 22. I certainly would not rule out a 22. I would get a Ruger 1022, used or new. They've got, just go with the old school ones with the wood stock. They're easy to work on. They're super reliable. Short barreled, lots of accessories. You can put large magazines in them. How many rounds can a man carry of 22? You know, and people say, oh, I get that. We all get that, right? But tell me, would you want to be shot with one? 'Cause I wouldn't. You know, so, and what can you buy one for? I'm out of touch here, but I would imagine under $300. That'd be my second one. That'd be my second choice. It would be a scout rifle, and it'd probably be a 10-22. Yeah, boy, the debate rages on, huh? That's a difficult question. But honestly, like it's all I had, if I had to grab and go, and I had like a Thunder Ranch scout rifle with a good military grade optic on it and a Surefire flashlight, I would not be disappointed. I would feel in very good hands. It would have to have a box magazine. That's important to me. Have to have the ability to have a 10 or maybe even a 20 round magazine. 10 round magazine would be fine for .308, and a 20 round magazine is just fine for .226, and have a few extras. Throw in your pocket. That's what I'd do. We have a super chat from Luke Blundell. Shout out to you, Luke. Luke is a new member as well. Welcome. He says, petition to get Jack a channel. He is hilarious and very smart and clever. Mrs. W needs one too for our wives. Yeah, that's not going to happen with Jack. He has no interest in that whatsoever. He does not particularly like having to deal with questions from people. See, he's in competitive debate at a pretty high level right now. He's really, really good at that. Super, super fun to watch him. It's just, I just can't believe it. I was with Mrs. W and my toe is actually frozen now. I've lost all feeling in my pinky toe. We were watching him the other day. He was on a debate competition. It was online, and I'm just watching him speak, and they're arguing like international trade and policy. I mean, just these topics that were just so, like when I was 17, I didn't even know what trade was, and they're making these eloquent arguments for and against, and it's just incredible. I look at him and I think, whose kid is this? And I look at my wife and I thank her, like, thank you for giving this boy this incredible education. It's amazing. But he just doesn't have any interest in that. So don't see that happening. As far as Mrs. W, she'll be more involved, mostly in the summertime. Her thing is she's behind the scenes. She does a lot with the canning. She feeds our family. She's a master food preserver. She has a really great wealth of knowledge, especially for preserving food, canning, putting together what to eat, what stores well. She's very, really well versed on that, and quite a good prepper. She spends a lot of time in reading and how to store things and how to keep things. We're going to be when we move into the new house, there's going to be a lot more opportunity for that sort of thing. She will be joining us for more, especially for members. Oh, goodness. We have a super chat from McFadden Farms and new member. Welcome back, McFadden. Good to see you here. McFadden Farms just got married last June and now have one on the way, and now getting out of the U.S. Coast Guard to join the harbor pilots in May. Any tips on joining a new career path? Man, that's a cool job, a harbor pilot. So if you probably know this, being in the industry in the Coast Guard, I don't know where you're stationed, but the most dangerous bar crossing, I believe, in the world is the Columbia River Bar in Astoria, Oregon. If you ever come to Oregon, Astoria is a really cool place to visit for a couple days. They have a maritime museum there that's kind of dedicated to the harbor pilots and the bar pilots, and it's fascinating. So what happens is, if you look on a map, you'll see Oregon or Washington and Oregon. And the border between them is the mighty Columbia River, massive, massive river. And all the tributaries from the west slope of the Cascades drain down into this river, and it is huge. It's miles across, when you get down there to the bottom. Well, when that slams into the Pacific Ocean, it can create a ferocious break right there. I used to go out there, we've fished out there, Buoy 10, and I've seen it before, where we've had to go out there and cross the bar in small boats. And even on a day when it's considered to be completely calm, it is it's harrowing, terrifying. But when it's busy, it is, or when it's really, really storming, it is unspeakable. These bar pilots, what they do is that they have the expertise. They know the lay of the lands. I don't know all the nautical terms, but they know how to navigate these massive ships and whatever through this bar. So what they have to do, it's incredible. Look it up sometime. It's worth watching some YouTube videos on. What they have to do, they've got these special boats that, man, they're unsinkable. They can be flipped around. They're quite cool. Regardless of the conditions, they have to go out there, cross this dangerous bar, go out there, and then get up next to these giant container ships and all this stuff, and then clap on to sometimes a rope ladder and scramble up the side in storm conditions, whatever, and then they're in charge. They take control of the ship and they bring it in safely, because the regular captain, he might be from Shanghai, who knows where. He doesn't know the area. So this is how it's done. Very, very interesting, very dangerous job, but that's a cool job to be able to get into. I don't know anything about it other than just what I've read, and I've been around them a little bit, and I know kind of their job, but to join a new career path, you get into something like that, you have a very, very tight group of people. There are very few men and women that can do that sort of job. And what I learned about, it's not unlike wildland firefighting, where you have a small community. Your reputation will be made in the first few weeks, first months of you working there. Your reputation for being honest, hardworking, reliable, courageous, not a person that shirks his duty, shirks his ability. It's very, very important. If you want to have a happy and healthy career, if you want to enjoy the respect and admiration of your coworkers, you need to really, really understand this. You need to guard your mouth very carefully. You need to listen and not talk. You may think you know everything, and you may have a background in the Coast Guard, and you may be all checked out on all that stuff, but they don't see it that way. You're the new guy. Be humble. Make honesty the best policy. Never compromise that. Even if someone is putting pressure on you to do something that is maybe not honest, or asking you to look the other way during a discretion of some sort, just be sure that honesty is the best policy, and don't talk unless you absolutely must. Listen, and that first year, really, really humble yourself, and always be there to volunteer. Always be the first one there and be the last one to leave. If you see something that needs doing, do it. Even if it's not your job, just be known as a person that's agreeable, that's a positive attitude, that's happy, to look after yourself, keep yourself physically fit, look out for the well-being of your coworkers, but just be honest. Honesty is always the best policy. Keep your mouth shut, learn and listen, and you will have the respect and admiration of your coworkers. But if you go in there with bravado, or pushing your weight around, or trying to lord over people, in a small community like that, you just can't get away with it. You can get away with that where no one knows your name. You can be an ass, you can be arrogant and conceited, you can move on to another country, no one's ever going to know about it. But I would imagine the community is so small that what you do on the West Coast over a few years would probably be known by your fellow bar pilots or harbor pilots on the East Coast as well, and that will follow you around. An interesting thing I read about this years ago, and I don't know if it's true. I think it is. I think I read this in a book. It was about selection for SEAL Team 6, if memory serves. I could have this wrong, but it doesn't matter. The point is valid. SEAL Team 6, how I understand it, is the best of the best. You can be in the normal SEAL teams, but for counterterrorism and such, the very best try out for this, and that this is a very, very elite and small group. And I was told during the selection process that the members that are involved in the training of these men, of these candidates, that the candidates' photographs that are trying out are placed on I don't know if it's a room or it's a wall, but they're all placed up there. Let's say that there are 12 candidates that are trying to get into this team. The policy, how I remember it, was that if there's any existing member that's working that knows something about any one of these candidates, that sees them as unfavorable or thinks that they wouldn't be a good fit for the team, it doesn't make any difference. They can simply anonymously sign. I don't know if they sign on the picture or they put a whatever, but they're somewhere that they were able to say this is a no-go, and that's it. There's no questions asked. There's no follow-up. It's just because one person in the team decided that they don't want this person, they don't think he's a good fit, he's out. Now, it could have been something that he saw from a man 10 years ago in basic training. It could have been something that he had heard about, reputation, that the guy can't hold his liquor. It could be, it doesn't make any difference. It could be anything that the person that washed out may never ever know and wonder, what was it that I did? You know, I'm a qualified, I can meet the physical standards, I'm a good enough shooter, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. His reputation can destroy him and sink his career. And it was very interesting when I read that. And it's very similar to what you would experience in a very elite or small community like that of harbor pilots, I would imagine. Man, that's cool. I'd like to hear back on your career path. That's very exciting. That's very cool. We have a new member, Jimmy Rosenthal. Shout out to you, Jimmy. Welcome. Welcome. Enjoy your new badge, Overton's 940. You get a nice little icon of the official. Although I don't know if I can make the black blade official. I prefer the shiny blade, but I'm not a high-speed dude like Overton is, so he needs that anti-reflection quality, so his position is not given away. Professional homeowner, pro-ho, he could go either way. Thank you, Jimmy. Welcome. We have a super chat from JN. Good to see you back, JN. JN says he was asking about a silencer. What did I miss? Silencer. Oh, what can you do to recommend for a rifle? I was thinking of getting a Surefire. A silencer. Well, yeah, Surefire, of course. Man, I was all up about this a few years ago when I purchased mine, doing all the research. But there's a ton of companies that have come up from now. When I watch Mr. Guns and Gear, he's a good resource for these sorts of things. He tests a lot of these the brands that I've never even heard of before, and I'm not the expert on it. But I'll tell you, if I was going to buy one, me personally, there's only 2 brands that I would look at right now, and that's because I'm ignorant about what else is out there. But I know that you couldn't go wrong with them. For large center fire precision rifle, it would be a Thunder Beast, titanium Thunder Beast in 7-inch, which I have 2 of. I have one for 308, one for 6.5 Creedmoor. And if I was going to do a suppressor for AR, it'd be Surefire, 100%. 100%, no question about it. And I'd have the 3-prong or the 4 prongs across all of my rifles so that I could quick attach to all of them. That's what I would do. Yeah, there'd be no question about it. It's pretty much the standard. We have a super chat from Logan Carnes, and 2-month member. Shout out to you, Logan. Logan, welcome. He says, I meant suppressor, not gun. That's my bad. Okay, well, you got a whole bunch of opinion on gun for no extra charge right there. So, but yeah, that's what it'd be: Thunder Beast, titanium for centerfire, and Surefire for sure for AR. Yeah, no question. I wish I had one. I wish I had a Surefire suppressor. I don't have one of those. We have a comment from Anonymous Patriot, member for 51 months. That's a long time. Who writes, thumbs up for everyone. Thumbs up, everyone. Yep, I agree. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Hit that like. Thumbs up. Working hard here for you. And we have a super chat from Isaac Leonard. Shout out to you, Isaac. And Isaac writes, started my semester with first cold shower this AM. Yeah, man, I had, it was hard. I was not looking forward to the shower this morning when I woke up to 2 degrees. When I woke up to 2 degrees this morning, and the first thing I did was, we had the water running all night. I went into the bathroom and I turned on the faucet and the water was running. And I thought, good deal, good thing. I'm glad I left that water running last night. We're not gonna have any problem. 2 degrees, we left the water running, it's not gonna freeze. Well, I didn't realize that it was just the pressure tank, the residual in the pressure tank pushing water out, and as soon as that was depleted, then Mrs. W came in a few minutes later and said, the water's frozen. I was filled with glee because I knew that if the water wasn't running, that meant there would be no cold shower for me that morning. And then I thought, well, you can't get out of it that easy. You know, of course, you could always go down to the river and jump into that. And I thought, well, that's a safety issue. You know, man, speaking of safety issue, my toes still frozen. You can't be going for a swim in a spring or glacial fed ice freezing river when it's 2 degrees outside. That would just be irresponsible. So it was out of my hands. There was nothing I could do about it. But Jack got the water flowing again, and I had my cold shower as well. So shout out to you, and mine was really, really good. We have a super chat from Pat, who says, do I smoke weed? I don't. I don't smoke weed, and I don't drink. I don't. Would I judge someone for doing it? I would not. No, absolutely. I think it's best not to smoke weed. I mean, it definitely is. But if it's if that's helping you with a particular ailment, or giving you, if you have chronic pain, or, you know, I'm not even going to go into all the details. That's not for me to judge. You need to judge. If that could be useful to you, then, and there's nothing else, or it's that over traditional pharmaceuticals or addictive substances, opioid type of things, I would say that would be the lesser of two evils, but I personally don't. I have in the past. I've done most all drugs in the past, but I don't. We have a super chat from Question Tree, and new member, welcome, shout out to you, who writes, Florida just introduced a bill that would remove the requirement to buy a license to conceal carry. Love your streams, Cody. Thank you, and God bless. Yeah, that's going to be. I think we're going to see more of that. That there seems to be a trend in that direction. You know, as violent as the world is getting, and with access to be able to see all of this, you know, this could, when you get to the point where it can't be suppressed any longer, and that's what I like about TikTok. It's incredible. We were talking, Overton and I were talking yesterday about how YouTube has changed over and how it's been like the analogy of the boiling frog came up. You know, we know the analogy, right? If you put a frog in the boiling water, he's going to jump out. If you put him in the tepid water, the cold water, and bring the boil up slowly, he just gets used to it and doesn't realize it and ends up getting boiled because of that, because it comes on gradually. When you start going over to other social media sites like TikTok, regardless of what you're hearing from the government, there's a lot more there's a lot more gritty, realistic, real content over there than anything you're going to see on Shorts. I guarantee it. Or Rumble, BitChute to a certain extent. You start to see, it starts to highlight how curtailed and censored YouTube content is, and how it's just been sanitized, and how boring it is. It's really, really getting boring. I mean, I searched on there, and I find myself just getting off. It used to be, that's where I went for information, that's where I went for entertainment. I find myself spending less and less time on there and going over to even to Twitter or to Rumble, or especially to TikTok, because you're getting real stuff there. You're getting boots on the ground. You're getting people that are in the area with experiences that is still being put up there. And as I've said, the reason why there's all of this movement, you know, they say, well, it's a spy. You know, the Japanese are using it for spying on us. Of course they are, but it's no worse than what our government is doing to our social media sites. They're not only are they spying, but they're also pulling anything off there that they don't agree with. You're just not getting. You just can't get it, and you'll see that. You might be in the boiling frog syndrome. You might have been on YouTube for a long time, and I think you have to notice, if your eyes are open, you notice that things are not the way they used to be. Like all the cool stuff, the prepper stuff, or people sharing things, or real reporting from on the ground of riots or natural disasters. It's so sanitized, it's just not even there. You can't even find it. It's just gone. It's quite boring, actually, to me. So What were we talking about? I forget the point. Anyway, oh, I remember what it was. So, with people having access to non-curated content like TikTok, Rumble, BitChute, Twitter, we're starting to see how dangerous and how violent the world is, how things are escalating, and there's more. There's this idea, people just realize, I need to have some way to protect myself. I'm defenseless if someone comes to my house. And people that would never, ever consider to have firearms in the past are now starting to, if not at least accepting it. And that's gonna manifest itself. That's all gonna trickle down or trickle up into policy. So you're gonna see more and more of this, for sure. And I mean, you have to be a fool to think that modern gun confiscation or laws are going to change anything. When we look at, it's so simple, the cities that have the most draconian and restrictive regulations are the most violent. Chicago, for example, people are not stupid. We're all seeing it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Florida man is leading the way. Florida man is leading the way. Florida man, I never thought I'd see it. Florida man is ungovernable, as I like to say. All right. Well, I guess that's it. We are at an hour and a half. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the mods. A little quick shout out to the mods. Your packages are going out this week. Mrs. W just informed me before the stream started that the first shipment of what I've been waiting for is arriving today, and the rest of it following up over Tuesday and Wednesday. And we will start the boxing process. I actually just heard the UPS man, and that completes the order. So we will be this afternoon getting your surprises out, which we're very excited, very, very excited. So shout out to the middlemen who make this possible. And those of you who are working behind the scenes, you know who you are. We really appreciate that. We have some very, very high quality people that are very, very graciously dedicating their time and particular skill sets to moving what we're doing here forward. And things are going to be changing radically. That's all I can tell you. I know it's terrible, but we are working hard behind the scenes for you. So continue to be here, spread the word, support us. I know the live stream is not great. We learn by doing. I know that it's just going to take a while for us to get into the flow. It's going to take a while, and it's going to get better. And we're going to build this, and it's going to be amazing. So just keep uploading. That's what I tell myself. Just keep streaming. Just keep streaming. Just keep streaming. Thank you. Please keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families. We pray for you constantly. And we'll see you guys over on the next stream.